Now let's get started right away, as they say on YouTube, although they usually say that after 10 minutes of rambling. So I better get into it myself. To start with, let's just build the skeleton, if you like, of this template. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to get all this already done so I can walk you through one by one without tapping at the same time. So this is where we put the first the risk number. So we will need to, for each new risk, we just need to increment by 1 this number here, obviously. So this is where we will put 1, it's the first one, 2, second one, I think you get the idea, date raised, so that's the date where the risk would have been raised. The main risk type. So for this, what I like to do is a type of a validation. It's not monetary, but I found it helps when you want to run statistical data after on your risks. For instance, here I'm just gonna put some risk type that I think are quite common and are quite used at the moment. So I just if you want to choose between those risk types, or if you want to add new ones or the likes. But this is a good start. So it could be the risk could be an impact on cost, on the schedule, on the reputation of the company. I mean, if something is really, if they create a product that is really crap, strategic impact of the risk, if something that goes against, if you like, the strategy of the company, or external factor can be a risk, like act of God, as they call it, or any other type. So for this, I would just validate. So to validate, just in case you're not aware, you go to data, you go to data validation settings, and you allow for a list, and then you click on source, and you go here and you just select those. So now the user can select a risk type here. So this is done. Risk description. So if you've seen other my videos, I really like the if then, and not only me actually. So for instance, if I have this type of risk here, the risk needs to be if then this way. That really forces you to have a look at the impact of the risk. It's not just, oh well, what if it rains and then there is nothing coming out of this risk. But here, for instance, the example I gave is about holidays. If there is a volcano eruption and we cannot fly, so if the return flight is cancelled due to the volcano eruption, for instance, then our budget would be impacted and the likes. So this is not a video really on risk management. It's more creating the template. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. So please, if you want, put if then here. The impact, the likelihood and the severity. So that will be really the quote-unquote brain of this spreadsheet. So we'll go back to this last because there's some calculation that needs to be done. Owner, you put the name of someone. This is really absolutely necessary. Put John Briggs, for instance, and the owner, if at all possible, shouldn't be you as a project manager. If you are the project manager, it should be really, the responsibility should really be given to someone. You would have a risk meeting, and you would decide on all the risks, and then you would allocate an owner for each one. So risk response type is also something that I like to have as a validation. If I do this, add a bit of a... So you would create a table like that in a validation tab. Actually, I could call this, yes, let's do it now, validation. And then you would have a risk outcome here. So that those are the 5 most common, transfer the risk, avoid the risk, accept the risk, mitigate the risk, or exploit the risk. Exploit the risk is more for positive risks. I have other videos on risk management if you want to get into this. Once again, this is not really the purpose of this. So risk response type, and here you would do the same thing. You would go on data validation, allow for list, click on source, validation, select this, and then risk response type, you would transfer. And here you would put the risk response description or action taken or something along those lines. So the risk response type was transferred. So what do you do to transfer the risk? Transferring the risk is, the best example I can give is when you take out insurance. In other words, you say, oh, I don't want to take that risk. I'll let those guys take the risk for me. So risk response description, it could be travel insurance taken. And here we go. So this way, if this risk happens, then the response is we call the travel insurance. Does not always work, believe me or not, especially with a volcano experience. But you can try. So that next check, let's say next risk assessment, maybe be a bit more accurate, is you when you don't want to lose sight of risk. I mean, in my course, I suggest that to have a big risk meeting every month, which is not often done, but I think it's just a brilliant idea. But on top of that, if you want to be able to check the risk at a certain point in time, then you would put a date there. Now, in this example here about the volcano and travel insurance, it doesn't really make sense, but let's assume that you would have a date where it makes sense for you to check the risk, or you can prompt your team, you or your team, to have another look at this risk on that point in time, and we'll put some validation on this. And here the status also is something that, it depends on where you work, but it's something also that I like to validate. So I'll go back to the validation status, and what I would have as validation here is open, on hold, or closed. So here, same thing, you know how it works, you've done that before, data validation, list, source, open, on hold, closed, and then we can select, for instance, open here. Update, it's also a text, description. So you can say, let me put that properly. You can put a date here, 10th of December 2022, risk still open, John still monitoring, for instance. So you have and then you can add another update with a date here, if you like. So now, if I drag that down, so we have a bit more risks there. Well, I like to put a bit of a lighter, the same color at the top, but lighter. It's a method that I find quite nice for this. So what do we have now? So what we need to do is, before we go into those big three here, is do a bit of tidy up. I mean, that's up to you, but maybe put everything at the top. And what I can do is I can add a little bit of conditional formatting to the date of the next risk assessment, so it's obvious when we open the spreadsheets. So what we can do is we select this range here, and we put a conditional formatting, manage rules, or create new rule directly. And we use a formula to determine which cells to format. So the formula is, we want to make sure that the date itself is filled in, because we said that it's an optional field. So we need to check that the date itself is not blank, and that the date is smaller than today. So in other words, it's overdue. And when we put this formula, we want to be mindful that we don't want a dollar value before the 5, because it should carry across every row. So we are not referring to this one at the top, but for every row we are referring to the date itself. And we're going to put something red, but not too scary. I find this red a bit too aggressive here, so I just put another type, so this one, for instance. So let's see if it works. So here, 1st of January 2023, yes, so this is when we're supposed to check. Today we are the 13th of December, so that works. So far so good. So next, let's have a look at the impact, likelihood, and severity here. The severity is a combination of impact and likelihood. And what we need to find is a type of formula that would give us, calculate us the severity based on the impact and the likelihood. So I've just created a bit of an overview here of the impact and the likelihood. So what we have usually is the impact is insignificant, minor, moderate, major, or severe. You might have seen that already if you're in a business. And the likelihood is rare, unlikely, possible, likely, almost certain. So there's some slight variations, but I think those are the most common type that we can find. And obviously, if you have a very severe risk that is rare, then it's not the same if you have a very severe risk that is possible. That's a little bit scary. So we need to find a combination of those two to come up with a severity. So what we do, or what I do at least, is I create a rating for each one of those. And the rating here that I've created is, I'm just going to put some pretty colors, is a rating of 1 for insignificant, 2 for minor, 3 for moderate, and 6 and 7 for major and severe, because those are really the one that is going to cause problems to our projects. And you'll understand why I put this high rating later on. And for the likelihood, I do the same. I create some type of rating, and I just have here just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here I have the rating. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't have a 6, 7 here because this is more the concern. You can have a very almost certain and significant risk, and it's still no big deal. So what do we do now? So what we do is we add those two. When we have a risk that is insignificant, say, and possible, then that's 1 plus 3, and that will give us 4. And we come up with a type of matrix that gives us overall number, severity, and then based on this, we calculate what should be in which category. So that's not going to be very clear with you, but let me show you how this would work. So here I've created a table here that I'm going to tidy it up a bit. I've created a table where I've added every rating possible. So this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we had there, and this is 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 that we have there. You can reference them to those, and you can play with these numbers and see how it applies to those. But so that gives you insignificant and rare. For instance, 1 plus 1 is 2 is here, almost certain and severe. 7 plus 5 is 12. So we have added all this. So every time we have a risk, we just add this rating plus this rating, and we come up with a number. So as you can see, the severity itself will be between 2 and 12. So we have just one thing to do, is to decide for which bracket how severe is the risk. So let's have a look at the table that I've created here. I didn't want to go through all the typing, that's why I've just created them, and I just have to paste them here for you. So here what I've decided is that between 2 and 3, we have a risk severity of low. Between 4 and 6, we have risk severity of medium. Between 7 and 9, we will have a risk severity of high, and 10 and 12 of extreme. So let's say 10 and 12, all those 5 here will be extreme. So we can highlight them this way. So this will be rated as extreme. So if you want, you can create a type of, if you're really into it, and I'm not gonna walk you through this, but you can create a type of cross-reference here between the two. And before we go on and calculate each risk severity, I'm just gonna create some names. I don't know if you're familiar with names, but it's just a matter of selecting what you want to name. You can select only one field, or you can select several fields. So for instance, here, I'm gonna call this impact description. That will make it easier for us when we explain the calculation. And I'm going to call this impact rating. And you guessed it, I'm going to call this likelihood description. And I am going to call this likelihood Okay, so what you can do is you can go in Formula Name Manager and check if everything is here. It seems to be okay. Now, what we want to do, so depending on the version of Excel that you have, I have 365, it's 2022, almost gone to 2023, but I can use XLOOKUP. So hopefully you can, but if you cannot, you can use VLOOKUP. The only downside with VLOOKUP is I believe the fields need to be properly sorted, but here they are not really sorted, but XLOOKUP works anyway. So what I do here is create fields a bit on the side that I can hide later on, and I will put the impact rating for each risk, and here I will put the likelihood rating, and then I will put the total here, and I will use this then to bring back the severity. So let's just put these fields a little bit wider. Let's just copy this format. Let's add a blank here. So for the impact rating, so I'm doing an XLOOKUP here. So this is my XLOOKUP. What you do is you just go back to the field where the rating is. And this is the rating here, the minor. You go into the impact description to look for it. So impact description, I look for this into this table here. And then you bring back the impact rating here. And then, yes, you want to find the exact number, obviously. And then you bring back the impact rating. So let's see if that works. Let's see if I put another one here. Oh, I haven't. I need to bring back the validation to all of those. So all those are validated. So here I put moderate. Here I put severe. It brings me a 7. 237, 237. So that seems to be working. Great. Now we need to go to the likelihood, and I need to copy this field across to make sure the validation is following as well. So likelihood is more or less the same. So I'm just going to copy and paste. The only difference is, obviously, I use the likelihood here. Description, and I use the likelihood rating, and I bring back the likelihood rating, and I don't check the impact, obviously, I check the likelihood here. So let's see if that works. Let's just bring some more here. Possible, let's say rare, that gives me back a 1. Almost certain brings me back a 5, so it seems to be all good. Let's do a bit of tidying up on this. So let's make sure that this is carried across everything here. So I'm just going to use the format painter and format all this the same. Although those fields, I don't think users, if users can access this spreadsheet, they don't really need to see those fields. So we can do the usual. If you've seen my videos, I just select those 3 columns here. I go to data, and I'm going to group. So I group them so we can hide them, and nobody needs to know there's anything in here. It's just to assist us. And here, that's it. We add the ratings. So we're almost done. So we have found this this rating here, the severity rating. I'm just going to put that right bang in the middle because that. And then the severe rating. So we just need to bring the description of the severity based on that number here. So if you remember here, we had associated some brackets with the risk severity description. So now for each one of those numbers here, we need to go and look into that table. Into this, we need to look into these brackets numbers here, and we need to bring back that description, and then we need to put it here. Now, before we go and retrieve the severity, we need to make it a bit easier. We need to create a new name. So we just select this time not only the first column, but the 3 columns on the risk severity table here. We select them this way, and then we are just doing the usual thing, severity rating. We press enter. And then we go back to our risk register and we select the first field and we type this formula here. So if S5, which is the total, is greater than 0, so that's to prevent to have some rubbish retrieved when there is no severity yet allocated. So we only do this when there is something here, a total is being made. And then we do a VLOOKUP this time, because we're dealing with numbers, so we can do this. We are looking for this number here in a table, and we are retrieving the third column, which is the description. And it will bring us back the closest. So we're looking for this in these numbers, and then that will retrieve low, medium, high, or extreme. So let's see if it works. Just remove the blank. So here, medium, 5 medium, 5, that's it, medium. Just try the other ones. 4 medium, 12 extreme, 12 extreme, that's good. So that seems to be working, so we can obviously try with more stuff. Moderate and possible, and then we need to copy down that formula, obviously, all the way down. Gives us a medium again, moderate, possible, I didn't have this one. That's a 6 medium, that's a 6, and the 6 is a medium, so that's good. So we're almost there. So now we can remove this, not to clutter spreadsheet too much. I will be removing the grid also, view grid lines ticked off. I don't like them. And then now, based on, depending on your test, maybe I can put everything in italics this way. So now let's put a rack status, just in case you're not aware of what rack status is and its purpose. I have another video on this, but it's more or less red, amber, green. So what I've done here, I've just more or less say what I would like to have as, because there's only 3 rack statuses, so this is the way I would like to have them. I would like insignificant and minor show as green, moderate as amber, and then red, major, and severe. For the likelihood, rare, unlikely, possible, likely, almost certain, red. And then for the severity, I go one step further, because this is the key one. I have 2 types of amber, for medium and for high. So now this is the one of the last steps. We need to apply some rack status here, so it's much faster for someone who reads that risk register, or even for yourself, and to go into the problematic risks. So let's apply some conditional formatting to this. Now let's apply some rack status to those fields: impact, likelihood, and severity. So there's several ways. We could go back to this field here, to this, and check based on the number here, allocate a color. But I'm just going to make it quite simple and a bit more visual in a way, is that I'm just going to refer directly to those fields. And that will allow us to use the simpler conditional formatting rule, which is format only cells that contain. So cell value here is equal to, I go here, severity to insignificant, then I can format it and I can put it green this way. So it works, and if I put something else, it stops working, which is good. So I go back here and I will manage the rules. First of all, I will apply this to the full risk register. And what I can do is I can just duplicate the rule. So I can do the same, equal to the second one. Oops. So I just need to make sure I just select this one, 6, and then apply, I duplicate again, and I will want this time to put it amber. So just choose a number here, and then equal to moderate. Now let's make this ∆y. Moderate. Okay, so I can duplicate it again, duplicate the rule, put it at the bottom here. So I know the next one is going to be 8, and I will format it in pale. Oops, this one here is pale red. This one here. I duplicate, bring it down. 9. It's also a red. So does that work? Moderate, severe, moderate, major, severe. It's working. Now the same with the likelihood. Likelihood, formatting, new rule, cell that contains this, based equal to, go here this time, rare, this is green, let's try it first, rare, green. Okay, now we can safely go back, manage rules, apply it to everything. And now we duplicate it. Duplicate the rule. So 14 also is going to give me the same green. Duplicate. 15 is going to give me the amber instead. Amber. Duplicate. 16 is going to give me red. Should be able to find the same red, but I don't, so I just have to go back here. Duplicate this red. Bringing back down, be a bit consistent, and I put 17. Okay. Now let's check if I need to do some reordering. Rare, almost certain, possible. So this seems to be working. Now we do the same with the severity. So the severity, we have decided to have 4 tabs, so I just need to add another one in the middle. But so for the severity, same thing, low, conditional formatting, you know how it works. Cell that contain equal to severity. If it's low, it's going to be green. That's it, and I just copy it across. It's another way to doing it. And then I will duplicate those rules. Image rule, so 31. 31 is going to be the light amber. Duplicate. 32 is going to be the strong amber. This one. Let's see if it's too hard. And then duplicate, and then this one is going to give me a bit of a red format. More color, red. Okay, so the extreme doesn't work because I didn't put 33. Should put 33 here. That's it. That's it. We have our risk status for those 3 fields. We have date here highlighted when we are behind, checking on this risk. We can hide this. So we just need to do a little bit of tidying up now. Now another thing we can do is put on top the risk, how many risks there are: low, medium, extreme, just to give a very quick overview of the risk status on this project. So in order to do this, first of all, actually, we can just do as we did before. We can name this this risk column here. So we select everything and we call it risk severity. Oh, we have to put a total here. Risk severity total, for instance. Just it's a bit of a long name, but and here what we do is we do a count if. So we count if the risk severity. Now I wish I had a shorter name. Total, and the criteria is we are checking if it's equal at low. So for each, we will be doing this for each row here. And the way we do this is we have to do this ℏ and then we have to do an AND in the field here, and 30. This way that will drag it across, and for each one we can calculate the total. Now we can drag it down and 1, 2, 0, so I need to put a high. Yeah, so it seems to be working. We have one low, two mediums, and one extreme. Is that correct? Yes, well, and obviously all those we need to allocate something. So moderate and possible gives you a high. Oh, that's good. So that just here. So what we can do now is we can create a chart here. Just put not the recommended chart. We can put this one, for instance. We can be super fancy and just select this and put it, let's say we put this one green, the same colors. We select this one and put this one light amber. We put this one strong amber. And we put this one, the pale red. So that gives us a total. Now what we can do as well is we can add data labels. So that's it, they are being added, and maybe it'll be better if we put that on the main screen here. So before we do this, what I like to do is just to put a bit of a text box here, so I can have more flexibility with what I put in and the way I format it. Shape format, so I will just fill that in maybe for some blue here, and I will put risk register. So that's very small. I will center it, put it on top, and then put it white, maybe bold, and then I will increase risk register, and then you can put for each project here. For project ABC. Put it a bit smaller, risk register for project ABC. So what we want to do is we want to bring that a bit bigger, because I'd like to put my chart on top of this. So, okay. We're really getting into the fine-tuning here. So let's just bring this one across. Risk register, just put it here. So it doesn't look too squashed. Yes, it does look squashed. So I don't need this chart title. I'll remove the chart title, sorry, so we can do it our own way. We can make it this way, low, medium. So we can either, it's up to you. If you want to leave it this way, you can, but what I prefer to do is just put all white, and then I just format the chart area, and I put no fill. So this way it's a see-through, and I put everything in bold. So you just select everything and you put bold on top of it. So do we need those lines? Probably not. So there you go. Do we even need this? So we don't even need this thing on the side there. Let's just try and remove it. Just click to remove, and then you can put add another. you know, instead of relying on the chart text, you can put your own text here. Create a box. Risk status. Take that shape format. Use shape fill. You just don't put anything in it. No fill. And then you put that in white. Text in white. And then you bring that up. So it's up to you if you want to leave that border here. Maybe let's see if it's what does it look like without the border. And then you have the risk status here. So it doesn't look much here for the time being, but when you have 20,000 risks, I think it's actually quite useful. Here the risk status shape, I need to remove the outline, no outline, and then it's a matter of taste, as I say. Okay, that in bold. I can put it maybe a bit bigger so it makes more sense. Now let's see if it works. Let's try and increase this, putting into a severe. Oops, yes it does. Okay, now actually it's so that's quite fun. Now something else that you can do is that obviously the doors would also include the closed one. If you might not want the extreme risk to still show if they are closed, if they moved on and become an issue, or if they are just no reason to exist. So it's just a matter of going here and in a total just put a CONTIFs instead of a CONTIF. So we need to check if the status is closed as well. So if I create another table here in status, if I call it risk status, and then I will go back here and I will, instead of a CONTIF just without S, I will just add an S here, and I would add this as another condition. So the risk status is open actually. So you see the medium is dropped to 2, and if I resurrect it, if I put it back on open, then it's back here in this total here. So that's more accurate, I suppose, and there's no point dragging all the closed risk into this. So that's it for the risk status. As mentioned, I have a lot of other videos, and I have some videos on the risk management itself. So this video here was focusing really on the Excel part of it. So obviously, please refer to my video. I might have some in the description there for you. And then good luck with all this. Let me know how you go. And remember, risk management is obviously very important. And have monthly meetings with everybody involved. Make sure you review this, add more, remove some. There's no point having risks hanging in this when they are not valid anymore. So you would go there and you would put them closed, and then you would just remove them from the status maybe, so they don't show up anymore. So that's pretty much it for it. And please subscribe so I can put more of those online.